Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast, you want to know who the next Saints coach is? Well, we advise you to watch the odds because they rarely will steer you wrong. With that, while the odds on whom the Saints will choose to be their next head coach has fluctuated a bit the past week, those changes have not been very drastic. So maybe we just missed the possibility of Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore as a realistic candidate. We'll talk about how real it is this morning with Larry Holder, the Athletic, and the entire search and maybe some other things that have happened in the NFL. We'll also look at the NFL playoffs with Larry. And since it's our last show of the week and the conference championship games are on Sunday, it's time to get the Pick'em crew together for another episode of The Host is Always Right. Sounds like maybe the best show we've ever had, so there's really no reason to delay it any further.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Thought out yet? Was able to go and get my coffee this morning, man. Everything is getting right with the world. Uncle Big Nick has cut his bitchin' in half. That's how much warmer it is this morning than it was. They're back there shaking their heads. They don't like the title of our. That's gonna be the title of our pick'ems now. The host is always right. The stuff you can do when it's your own show. They'll get me back. They're waiting in the green room. They're thinking of things they can do to get me back. I promise you. Well, I know this. They're still out of pumpkin spice. While I'm out of pumpkin spice, I'm not out of Dattitude. Episode number 336, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Friday, January the 24th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Derry. 34, almost 35 years in the New Orleans sports media scene. And I thank you for being here and being a part of our ever-growing Dattitude family. You can be a part of the show. You know how to do it by typing in your comment on YouTube or Facebook. Love to hear from you this morning. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Getting close to another milestone. I need a few of you, a few more. Get in touch with me on X at Jim Derry Jr. via email, as many of you do. jderry@theadvocate.com. First off, give me a second. I know we got a lot to talk about this morning that all has to do with the Saints coaching search and the NFC and AFC title games. But give me a second to talk about some of my favorite people who have departed this earth. It's always a time of reflection for me this time of year. My mom who has been gone for 19 years. The anniversary of her passing was 2 weeks ago. Today would have been her birthday. She would have been 81 years old today. So happy birthday, Mom. And then yesterday, her sister, my nanny, if you're from New Orleans, you know what I mean by that. She would have been 97 today. I can't believe she's been gone for 30 years. So you want to talk about feeling old. 30 years she's been gone. And I don't know. Seems like it still could talk to her. So anyway, two very special people in my life. One's birthday was yesterday. One is today. And I wanted to talk about that. Just bring that up here this morning. Always a good thing to reflect and pay homage to the departed. You know, I don't know if you feel the same way that I do, but I feel like they're always around. Whenever you want to talk to them, they're there. And I do talk to them. So sometimes people think I'm talking to myself. I'm just talking to people. You can use that as an excuse too. By the way, if you ever get caught talking to yourself, you can just say, "Oh, I was talking to my mom in heaven." That always works. They'll still think you're crazy, but you probably are anyway. I am too. There's my tribute. Hope you are all up there this morning, and hope my mom helps me not piss off too many people this morning. D. St. Star Johnson says, today is your mom's birthday. Rest in heavenly peace. Absolutely, D. A good friend of mine. I don't know if he watches sometimes. Gregory Lee, the great Greg Lee. We've been friends for a long time. Today is his birthday. I always remember because it's my mom's. So there you go. Happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday to anyone else who has a mom out there. It's their birthday. What is on the show today? You know what's on the show today. You know, it's funny. We talk about these odds, and to me, you know, I'm always a guy who odds tell the story of what's going on. That's where I always look. We could say my source here or Adam Schefter says this or whatever. It's not gold until so-and-so says it to me. You know, it's not gold. Whatever the odds tell me, they're usually right. Breaking news this morning, if in case you didn't see it. Pete Carroll was announced a couple hours ago by Adam Schefter. It's not gold until Adam Schefter says it. No, the odds have been telling me for about 10 days now that 142-year-old Pete Carroll is taking over as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's 142. Now, they didn't sign the contract yet because it's contingent on whether the old folks home will give him an 8-hour pass every Sunday to leave the building. Good luck with that. They're also trying to make sure they got to get it in writing that if it's 3rd and goal within the 1, that you're going to run the football. They're also making him sign that paper. I don't know if he could still even sign his name. So damn old. We talked about him this morning. They got a lot of rolling. They love Pete Carroll back in the green room. The whole story of this is, all kidding aside, what do odds show you? Why do we bring up odds all the time on the show? It's not just because I used to be a betting writer. It's not because Gabe's in the green room and Gabe and I work together and bet.nola.com. It's not because we're degenerates and, I mean, let's face it, we like to gamble. But there's a reason why Vegas makes money. And this isn't necessarily Vegas. This is an offshore book, okay? Because I haven't actually even seen real odds at a book that you can bet here. Caesars, DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, whatever. We've been using betonline.ag, but they've been spot on. They told me 10 days ago that Pete Carroll was even back when people said Ben Johnson was going to get the job, when Ben Johnson was going to be the coach of the Raiders. No. BetOnline had Pete Carroll as the favorite, which I thought was weird. But they knew what they were talking about. They also had Ben Johnson was the favorite at 2 places. What was the other one? He was a favorite. One of the favorites anyway. Where did he get a job? Chicago Bears. Even when all the other talk about what was going on with the Bears. We're going to get into what the odds say because they have changed overnight. In fact, not only have they changed overnight, I was talking with Gabe this morning. We were testing a few things out. They have changed since this morning. And they are telling me a big story. Not going to tell you what they are just yet. We're going to get into it. Last night, Kellen Moore, and the reason why I made this the title slot, in case you haven't seen it, you're just joining us, you're just jumping in the show. This is our title slot this morning. By the way, correction. I said 2 days ago the Super Bowl was 17 days away. It was 18 days away then. It's 16 days away now. 16 days till Super Bowl 59 here in New Orleans. But the reason why I put Kellen Moore in as the title slide, because yesterday he became briefly the favorite. But there are 4 names that were going to all bunch together. Do we believe that Kellen Moore is one of the favorites? Well, again, they changed drastically overnight, and then they changed drastically again about an hour ago. So somebody knows something. We're going to get into it in just a few minutes. We're going to get into the comments in just a few minutes. So before we tell you all about what the odds currently are for the Saints, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. If that is you or it's someone you know, it's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemel. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices, either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette, no longer frozen. By the way, did you hear it got down to 5 degrees in Lafayette? Man, UBN grew a beard just when he heard that. Just sprouted out right when I said it. From there, you will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to decide, or if you want to proceed, I should say. The odds that will be much smoother than even you can imagine. What are the odds that it will be smooth if you go with Evangeline Securities? We'll put it at about minus 1,000. You don't need odds to know. We'll fill you in more after Larry's segment coming up. But in the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay, let's show you. Again, Larry Holder coming on the show in about 8 minutes. Let's show you. What are the odds this morning? These weren't the odds that I had to go back in and change these odds right before the show because they literally changed 15 minutes ago. I'll tell you, last night, this was Moore at plus 200, along with McCarthy at plus 200, Brady and Rizzi with both plus 250. Then this morning, it was McCarthy was plus 175, Brady was plus 200, Rizzi was plus 300, and Kellen Moore was plus 400. Since from about the last I looked before we went on, I looked about 9:15, that's what they were. So between 9:15 and 10:30, they changed again. And now, if you're listening to this show after the fact, and you listen to the podcast, you can't see the screen. Mike McCarthy is now an overwhelming favorite. Minus 200. That means you would have to bet $200 to win 100. That's implying that the odds are somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 65%. I told you the other day, I thought it was 80% that Mike McCarthy gets hired. But somebody knows something if they changed that much. We're going to have about 7 minutes of comments or so before we get to Larry. We will have comments as well when Larry's on, but I don't like to show him. I don't show as many when we have a guest on, but let's do it here for at least 7 or 8 minutes. Rocky, good morning. Let's hire a coach already. It's not taking, I've seen so many things, and Gabe and I have talked about this. I've seen so many things out there that people think it's taking too long. You're wrong. It's not taking too long. You got to do your due diligence, okay? Maybe it was too quick for the Bears. Maybe you'll find out the Bears jumped in and grabbed Ben Johnson just like they grabbed Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson was the obvious coaching candidate, right? Well, Caleb Williams, you can say whatever you want about Jay. We knew how good Jaden Daniels was, but we're biased. The overwhelming favorite to be the number one pick last year was Caleb Williams. Just like the year before, Bryce Young was the overwhelming favorite to be the number one pick. Sometimes you're better not being first. Just like we told you all this crap about tanking. I still see it. I've seen a ton of it. Oh, the players love Darren Rizzi. Don't get me started on that crap. The players love Darren Rizzi. Maybe they should hire Darren Rizzi. If the Saints hire Darren Rizzi as their head coach, we're going to go through all of this crap again in 2-3 years. It just goes to show this team doesn't want to change anything. I don't give a damn what the players want. Sorry. And you never played football. Piss off. You're going to be gone in 2 years, and we're going to be left here having to deal with this crap. Two guys especially. I love Alvin Kamara and I love Cam Jordan. Alvin Kamara on Twitter. My vote for head coach rhymes with fizzy. Cam Jordan, quote, also rhyme with drizzy. You're going to be gone in 2 years, okay? None of y'all will be. Alvin Kamara is not going to live in New Orleans. He won't even be here. He won't even hardly follow the Saints anymore when he's gone. You think he's going to watch 17 games a year? Hell no. I don't care what they want. You can't hire Darren Rizzi. That's a joke. Good morning. Charles is here. Says sometimes you got to go with a coach with experience. Rebuild team from the ground up. I know he wants Mike McCarthy. That's Callie. Good morning. A warmer Pensacola. It's also a warmer Mandeville and New Orleans. It is 46 degrees. Beautiful 46 degrees right now. Gary, good morning. Beautiful day north of Baton Rouge. That white stuff starting to disappear, isn't it? Saint for life. Who dat? Kyle Sherman. Who dat? Yep. Aaron Glenn was going to the Jets all along. That's another thing I've been reading about Aaron Glenn. This just goes to show you how dysfunctional the Saints are. Now, whether the Saints organization is dysfunctional or not is a different story. It has nothing to do with Aaron Glenn. Nothing. Aaron Glenn going to the Jets has nothing to do with the situation the Saints are in. We've told you before. Maybe he played for the Jets longer than he played for anybody else. He was there for 8 years. He knows the organization. Say whatever you want. It's not crazy that he picked the Jets over the Saints. Why would that be crazy? I mean, it's logical, if anything. Lance Dobard. Who dat? Barry Ulay is here. When is it too late to have a head coach? And have we have a head coach in the house? Have we passed that point? Past the point of what? We're going to hire a coach. Again, if you're thinking it's too long, you're wrong. It's not too long. You go back in time, the Saints hired Dennis Allen when everyone knew that Dennis Allen was getting hired on February the 8th. You go back in time, back in the day when it didn't take that long. Remember, Black Monday would happen, and then 3 days later, you'd have a coach like this is way back when. Guess what day that Sean Payton was hired? January the 18th. It's not too late. In today's, it takes a while. It should take a while. Hakeem, what's up, big dog? JC's here. What up from GM from the Mile High City? How we doing? We doing well. It is a lot warmer. We're feeling a lot better. Saint for Life, I disagree. It has nothing to do with Loomis about Aaron Glenn not coming. He wanted to see. That's another thing I've seen. Aaron Glenn wanted a GM, blah, 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 blah. The next coach who's hired, okay, whether it's Kellen Moore, whether it's Joe Brady, whether it's McCarthy, it's not going to be Rizzi, okay? I'll put Rizzi in these. It's not going to be Rizzi. Now, of course, I have backed off just a little bit from the 0.0. I'll say it's 0.9% chance. If it's Rizzi, you're definitely going to want to watch the show after. I promise you, you will want to hire. Here you go. Who dat daddy? If you hire Rizzi, our team will be dizzy. Who dat daddy? Let me tell you something. If the Saints hire Darren Rizzi as their permanent head coach, you will want to watch the next Dattitude. I promise you. UBN says the weather's still stupid. Bruce, thank you. Happy birthday, my mom. This is not stupid. It's beautiful today. Beautiful. Devon Harding is here. How can we truly get better if we still have Loomis? I know you mean Loomis still in the building. No, I'm missing the point. Told you already. Absolutely. R.I.P. to my beautiful, sweet mama. Douglas Thornton. Good morning, my brother. How you doing? Apathy. Nobody is competing with the Saints with the current guys left in the pool in the cycle. Exactly. You don't have to rush. Saints and Raiders is a terrible job. They're not even competing with the Raiders. Again, if you missed it, Pete Carroll is going to be the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And Barry, you want to know the odds on Schottenheimer to the Cowboys? I'd say it's about 98%. In fact, Gabe's monitoring the comments because it could happen during this show. If not, I'll be surprised if it doesn't happen today. Adam Varner, good morning. Anthony Riley, Mike McCarthy. Here we go. I promised I wasn't going to show any more of your quotes, but that's what happens when I don't let Gabe do it. And the Ron Burgundy is in charge of the comments. But I'll put it on there already. I'm not showing another one of your comments this morning not because I don't agree with you. I have plenty of commenters I don't agree with, but you're wrong. And all the ridiculous, dumb comments you put on there after, and some of them you have here, you're wrong. Because he went 7-10 last year. What did he do the 3 years before that? In case you forgot, or your brain can't hold this much all in one little spot. I get it's tough. Okay. And in case you don't have Google on your phone, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. I know it's tough. It's tough to compact that all together. I get it. I'm trying to help you. Logan Graffia, we don't need to rush to hire a coach. Commanders were the last to hire a head coach in the last cycle. Hired Dan Quinn. Worked out? Yeah, it worked out. They're in the NFC Championship game, but I'm kind of convinced the fact that Dan Quinn made it to the championship game. I'm not going to go as far as to say that, a lot of times they say I could do that or UBN could do that or Gabe. Maybe even Larry Holder could do it. I don't know. But there are lots of coaches out there. If Dan Quinn, who got to the NFC championship game? Jaden Daniels. Wait for Joe Brady. He wants Joe Brady. Okay. S. Kelly, amen on the Rizzy stuff. JJ, what's up? Just turned the big 5-0. Happy birthday. I don't know if that was today. Crazy week. Better. It has been a crazy, insane, stupid week. Jerbadaz, a junior badass. Whatever it is, Jerbadaz. I like Jerbadaz better. Joe Brady wants Joe Brady. Joshua Stewart, Rizzy being head coach is a joke. I'm going to ask Larry Holder in just a minute. Got a few more. Robbo Combs. McCarthy is the answer. Saints will find a way to stink it up. Walt Crawford wants to know about Aaron Glenn. I don't think Aaron Glenn said he wanted Mickey Loomis fired. I don't think Aaron Glenn even cares. Turbo Duran, what do I think about Pete Carroll taking the Raiders job? Good hire or bad? Thinks it's a good hire. Gabe thinks it's a good hire. I think that it's fine as long as they're not in the Super Bowl and it's 3rd and goal and the 1. Fine. Whatever. I'm not going to. Gabe says I say that coaches are awful too much, so I'll just say he's old. There's nothing. You can't factually disagree with me when I say that he's old. He's old. A lot more comments in the queue. Anybody else that I haven't mentioned yet before we move on? Because we do. Oh, there he is. Randall's here. I never mess with you enough. I don't have time because Larry's in the green room, so I got to get going. But how about that Dan Campbell, baby? Dan Campbell's the greatest coach in the history of the National Football League. He's going to win a Super Bowl. I'll get on that later. All right. Nobody else is in the queue that I haven't mentioned already. We're going to get to more comments in a little bit, I promise. But I want to talk more about these odds, his thoughts. Maybe he thinks Aaron Glenn didn't come here because of Mickey Loomis. I doubt it, but we'll ask him. We'll ask him what he thinks about Darren Rizzi. We'll ask him what he thinks about a lot of things. The man, the myth, no longer a football writer for The Athletic because he's got more important things to do, like writing about sports cards. They actually have, look, I couldn't believe back in the day, 2.5 years ago, whatever it was, when they asked me to become a sports betting writer. I'm like, you're going to have a sports betting writer? The only thing that would top that, in my opinion, in the world of sports is a sports memorabilia writer. And that's what you are now, Larry Holder.
Lots have changed. Lots of things have changed since the last time we spoke. Yes, I'm still can't believe the job's a real job either. So there you go. I really can't believe that it's a thing. But it is a thing, and I am about 2 weeks full time into this new job. It is quite the wild world, and a world that I admittedly am a bit of a novice.
Is it something that you said, look, I think this would be a good thing? Or did they say, we're going to start this new position and we think that you're the right candidate for it? Give us the inside scoop.
Well, the position came because we started the collectibles and memorabilia vertical.
Okay.
In, I think, August. I'd like to say that's when it came online. And there was a job opening, and I said, let me just look into it. I'll just put it to you this way. We all collected cards as kids. I mean, that's what it is, for sure. Especially like you and me, our generation, we did that.
Yeah.
And obviously a ton of people still do that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this coverage. But I just said, hey, all right, let me look into it. My kids got into cards a year ago, so they wanted cards for Christmas. So I got back interested into it, and it's a crazy, crazy, wild world. of things. And my kids, they got out of it like 3 weeks later, and then I stayed in it. And so I said, okay, I've been covering either the Saints or the NFL for 19 years. So this job, I just turned 45. This job comes up. Let me see what it's about. And it was a feeling out. I wasn't sure about it in terms of, man, this is not my comfort zone.
Right.
But I do think it's an untapped world. I mean, we are we're the only major news outlet on the planet that covers this. There are niche places that do it. And but we're the only ones doing it on a global scale at all. So to me, the possibilities of fun stories, industry-wide stories are tremendous. And I did a big story a few months ago, about a month and a half ago, before I was on the job. That was really the biggest talk of the industry in 2024. And that's the ability to CT scan unopened packs and boxes, find out what's inside and what's the ramifications of that. So I did a big monster story about that came out in mid-December. So the breadcrumbs were there that I was going to move, but I had to do the entire NFL season before I could take this job.
Well, I'm going to say that there's very much, I commend you for getting out of your comfort zone, because when you get to people who are younger, probably don't understand this, but when you get to our age, it's a lot less easy. When you're young, it's easy to get out of your comfort zone. If the job doesn't work out and you're often to have to figure out something else to do and you can't go back to what you were doing before, then it's easy. You're 30 something, you find another job. It is, you move on, you can start. But when you're younger than me, but when you get into your mid 40s, your 40s, mid 40s, and I'm now in my mid 50s, when you do something new, it is not as easy to get as your comfort, because I really kind of like what I'm doing, and if this doesn't work out, it's not like I could just go back to what I was doing. So I commend you for stepping out your comfort zone and saying, you know what, I can make this work, and I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it.
Well, while it's all snowing and everything here, I'm writing about Paul Skeen's baseball card that could go for $1 million. That was actually pretty fun.
Logan Graffia says he's waiting for his rookie Travis Kelce card to be worth $1 million someday soon.
$1 million might not be it, but depending on the card, there's certainly a Travis Kelce market. I'd say the market was bigger probably a year ago when he was first tied to Taylor Swift and all that, but there's definitely a market for Travis Kelce for sure.
As Callie says, trading cards is coming back. Gabe Henderson says he's still got his Pokemon cards. Will you be writing about Pokemon cards? I don't know.
I know. You think I know? Like, I at least know what I'm talking. Like the players in football and basketball and baseball. Like, I don't think they're going to ask me to write about hockey cards. I think we will have other people like who cover the sport or freelancers write about hockey. I just don't even know. But I'm not doing Pokemon cards. I don't know what Charizard. That's about it. That's about all I know.
UBN says he's going to invite himself to our baseball draft. He's got a ton of cards he wants to get with you.
I will say, man, prospect hunting. I actually have a good know-all of like who to look for. So in our draft, you better beware.
All right, before we move on, Saint for Life wants to know what is up with your haircut. He's got a cap
haircut. I don't know. I got hair. What do you want me to do? I still have hair.
Maybe they want you to shave it again.
It's a lot grayer, but hey, haircut. I mean, look, I can't be a frat boy my whole life, right?
All right. Well, put your hat back on. We're going to assume that's your tennis hat. I know, but we're going to assume that it's your old NFL writer hat.
I am covering the Super Bowl for The Athletic as an NFL writer. So just to put that out there, I haven't forgotten how to cover it.
All right. Well, I will see you there, and hopefully you'll be able to come out to Radio Row, and actually we could do the show together. Maybe
I assume we will. Yeah.
Maybe the Friday before the Super Bowl, we can actually do the show together, sitting next to each other. That would be. I
assume that will be happening. Yes.
All right. Good. We'll try to do that. All right. Before we talk about the Saints coaching odds, your thoughts on the breaking news this morning? 142-year-old Pete Carroll is now. Oh, I'd exaggerate just a little bit. Assuming he can get a permission slip from the old folks home to get out 8 hours a day on a Sunday to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Your thoughts on that?
I'm assuming you multiplied his age by 2 because that's
Did I?
basically what it is. You said 142. How old is he? Like
Oh.
71.
Oh, he's 121. Okay.
71.
My
And,
Shaw math doesn't not working this morning.
yeah, Shaw. Yeah, you don't know the difference between subtraction,
73.
addition.
You're
Yes,
right. Divide.
exactly.
I don't know.
Look, I think they needed an established coach. That is a hard job to sell onto someone. So if you're going to have someone come in there and take over, and we know Tom Brady's involved in the search, and so that's probably a primary reason why Pete Carroll felt comfortable about it. But still, that the way that franchise is looking with even just the roster, I mean, that's a tough sell. Like roster wise, that's a tougher sell than what the Saints have. Like that's quarterback wise, that's a tougher sell.
Well, the joke, right, Larry? The joke is that now that Tom Brady gets to own Pete Carroll twice.
Ooh, that is a good joke.
I can't remember whether Gabe or UBN told me that this morning, but anyway, Nick also said it's not often that I get to make fun of someone who is older than I, so let me have my fun. That is also true. All right, so I think it's fine. Hire, I make fun of Pete Carroll. He's probably better than I give him credit for. I mean, he did win a Super Bowl. Gabe going off on his national championship this morning. Woo. He also liked to claim one that he didn't win, but whatever. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's channeling his inner Donald Trump. I don't know. Anyway, other things going on. Pete Carroll is fine. The Raiders aren't going to go anywhere anytime soon, in my opinion. We'll see what happens, but they could have done a lot worse.
Yeah, they could have done a lot worse. I mean, they needed an established coach. I mean, that just didn't happen. Who were the last two coaches? Josh McDaniels and Antonio Pierce. I mean, I'm not going to count Bisaccia. And then it goes back to the John Gruden. Like, so that's, they're still reeling from that. Like if they had their way, John Gruden would still be the coach. If the plan was what it was, because he had like a 10-year contract when he first signed it.
Apathy says they could have done worse, like hire Rizzi. Look, the players, and kind of transitioning into that, and we talk about Kellen Moore. Again, if you're just joining the show, the main reason why I have Kellen Moore now, we're asking if he's among the faves, because I have gone by the odds throughout this entire process. And to me, the odds tell a story. Again, Pete Carroll has been the favorite of the books that I've been looking at, has been the favorite for 10 days to get the Raiders job. It shouldn't be a surprise. Ben Johnson was a favorite to get the Bears job if you're looking at the odds. And so Aaron Glenn was the favorite to get this coaching job, okay, until obviously he went to the Jets, because I don't think there's any question that's who the Saints wanted. Now, they didn't get Aaron Glenn. It's okay if you don't get your first pick. McCarthy up there is just changed. This just changed this morning, but last night, Kellen Moore had kind of jumped into a co-favorite role with McCarthy, which is the reason why. So I wasn't going to go back and change all my slides and change my title slide this late in the game. But, Kellen Moore, I don't think he's going to get a job in this cycle. But one day soon, Kellen Moore is going to be a head coach in the National Football League, in my opinion.
I am skeptical on Kellen Moore. I think it's, again, I brought this up on the show a few times.
You have.
You gotta be able to stand up in front of a team, and the team's got to believe in you. And I don't know if that's that guy. And there are people who are good to be coordinators, and there are good people who are good to be head coaches. And we've obviously just went through in New Orleans one of those cycles.
Right.
So I think, and I was in the green room, plush green room, hearing you go off about Mike McCarthy in a good way, basically defending him. Of any of those four names, I would take Mike McCarthy every day. Like, come on. Like,
Christmas.
To me, it's obvious to me. And look, it should pacify the people. Offensive guy, no Peyton ties. Now he's got Mickey Loomis ties, and I'm sure that really, really bothers people. And I think that's a big.
I think that's got to be the main reason why the people who are naysayers, the people that don't like him, I think that's probably got to be the number one reason why they don't want Mike McCarthy, is because that he does have ties. And I get that. But look, sometimes you just can't avoid ties. There's Mickey Loomis has been GM of this team for 22 years or 23 years or whatever it is. There are ties all over the damn National Football League.
Exactly. And it's not like Mike McCarthy didn't go to Green Bay and didn't win a Super Bowl and didn't win a million games. But I will say this. I think my thought process on that. He won a lot of games, and when he's ever won a lot of games, he's won it with good quarterbacks.
Yeah, no question.
And you could say what you want about Dak Prescott. I'm sorry. He's a very good quarterback.
Of course he is. He's making $60 million a year. You don't make 60-something million a year if you're a bad quarterback. I mean, nobody's that dumb.
Right. So, like, that matters. And so I wonder, for anyone, including him, okay, he comes here, can he make the best out of Derek Carr? And my guess is he probably can make what he does better. Like, I don't know how that doesn't raise my ceiling as to what Derek Carr is. I just think he could probably help Carr play higher to the ceiling in a more consistent basis, which is good. Like, that's what you want with the pieces what you have now. I'm sure he can come in and say, look, if I don't want Derek Carr, we move on from him. So if that's the case, if he gets the job.
And look, I think there's more than there's a greater than 50-50 chance that Derek Carr is not the coach. I mean, is not the quarterback of this team in 2026. I think it's about 90 to 95% he is the quarterback of this team this coming year. But that being said, Larry, I know, look, you and I have differed on Derek Carr. I've been a defender of Derek Carr. I think if he gets a real offensive line and could stay upright for 17 games and not have to, be hitting the ribs every other play and whatever, I think he can be a really good quarterback that leads you further than this team has been since Sean Payton left. However, I understand the naysayers as well, and you've been kind of in the middle. You're a naysayer. You're not a Derek Carr fan by any means, but I don't think you think he's terrible like a lot of people think. What happens if Mike McCarthy comes in here and changes things? And again, we're doing hypotheticals because that's what we do here in the show. But if Mike McCarthy gets the job, and again, now you look at the odds, he's now the overwhelming favorite to get the job. But if he were to come in here, get this job, and let's say they go 9-8 or 10-7 and win the division, does that change the minds? And maybe Derek Carr does get a couple more years here? I mean, God forbid. I know I don't look, you don't have to hate me in the comments. I'm bringing up a hypothetical.
Well, if you get successful and you play well, you're probably not going to rock with what you have. But I do think, and this is what the Vikings are going through, just because Sam Darnold did everything he just did,
right?
He's still a free agent. They still have J.J. McCarthy. They still could easily move on from Darnold, and you move on. I think what happened is it depends on how the quarterback outlook of what's available after, say, next season. Say if you stick with Carr and he does well and wins the division and you get to a wild card round, say you lose.
Right.
If you have a top college quarterback that you like, or somebody that's tradable, or somebody else, you got to keep your options open just because of what it is. And I'm totally throwing out hypothetical here, but if you were wanting to move on from Derek Carr right now, who are your best options? I mean, are you gonna reach on someone in the draft? Are you gonna sign Sam Darnold?
It's not a draft to go get a rookie quarterback.
I agree.
It's not.
Are you going to bring in Aaron Rodgers because he's got ties to Mike McCarthy?
God, no. I'd much rather that. I mean, I would think, and I'm going to ask you
no
on the
one's
spot.
seeing my face and me shrugging my shoulders.
Can I guess? I'm going to play guess what Larry's thinking game. I mean, I would guess that you would say that Derek Carr, you're better off with Derek Carr than bringing in Aaron Rodgers.
But yes, I think he's your best option right now. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is who's going to be available on some years. There are 4 or 5 guys available. I mean, Kirk Cousins might be available because he might get cut. I don't think Kirk Cousins, and I've said this way before August, not when everybody was saying, ooh, Atlanta's got Kirk Cousins. I was saying this way before then. I think Derek Carr is, if he's not better than Kirk Cousins, he's at least what with Kirk Cousins. So you wouldn't want to go get him, and Kirk Cousins would probably cost more money anyway.
Yeah, I would at this point, I'm taking Derek Carr over Kirk Cousins. And for as long as I can remember with you and me talking, I always said Derek Carr's ceilings was Kirk Cousins. Well, guess what? The ceiling caved in from the snow.
Absolutely.
On Kirk Cousins. So, yeah.
He fell below his floor.
Now, I'm curious to see because look, you're going to have quarterback needy teams in the draft. Which of these guys is going to shoot up the charts when all of this happens? Because look,
For sure.
if you look at the quarterback class right now, the top two quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I know us at The Athletic, we look at them as if they were on the same level as J.J. McCarthy last year. Like J.J. McCarthy
Okay.
could have been,
That's
would have
fair,
been,
I think.
if he would have stayed, he could have been a higher pick than both of those.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
This year's draft. So that's
Oh,
what
there's no
you're
question.
looking at. It's not the same class.
J.J. McCarthy might have been the number one pick of the draft this year.
Right. He might have been. So yeah, it's now I don't blame him for coming out, and I think he can be,
look,
I think he can be solid. I'm not as of the 6 guys that were just drafted, I put him 6th.
Well, my opinion is, and not that it means a whole lot, but right now we're talking about January. I may change my mind when we get closer in April, but I think Cam Ward is the only potential real NFL starting quarterback day after, week after week after week. I think Cam Ward's the only one. Okay. I think Shedeur Sanders will find a way to play in the NFL on a regular basis. I just don't know if it's going to be as quarterback. Okay. But to me, there's only so many. Look, there's no Jaden Daniels in this draft. There's just not. And I don't know that there's going to be, even with Arch Manning being available in 2026, I don't even know if there's a Jaden Daniels available 2 years from now. So I don't know. It's easy to say your fortunes can change by drafting the right quarterback. Hindsight's 2020. If the Panthers could go back 2 years ago, I'm sure they'd take C.J. Stroud. And if the the Bears could go back last year, they'd take Jaden Daniels, I would assume. But, you
I
can't
think
do
Cam
that.
Ward is the best one. I've been on that train for a while. Look, do I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL? Yeah, because he's going to be drafted high enough and he's going to have to play right away. I mean, that's just the nature of it. I think and let's just say,
but will he get drafted? Right? He could be, to me, I think Shedeur Sanders actually could be one of those guys to me that, there's always one that you watch. It was Will Levis a couple years ago. We've seen it. We go back and watch Randy Moss drop all the way to the 20th pick, which is one of the most absurd things that's ever happened in NFL draft history. But I think Shedeur Sanders could be one of those guys that just drops, and you're like, what? You're watching him in the green room on ESPN all night long, wondering when he's going to go.
I have a hard time seeing that. I just think there are too many needy teams, and there's not enough quarterbacks there. And so, if you don't have one, you might as well say, who else are we going to draft? We have a big hole. Why not take him? Because look, I can see him, and I'm just kind of going through quarterbacks that have been drafted in the past couple of years, and I don't think they're necessarily like the same skill set. It'll say is like Shedeur Sanders and like Anthony Richardson. I just think Shedeur would come to the NFL better prepared to play quarterback, and his like accuracy, I think Anthony Richardson, he was just a physical marvel, and the Colts couldn't help themselves.
And they couldn't help themselves, exactly.
So I think Shedeur Sanders has a much better chance of being successful than someone like.
I think he's better than Anthony Richardson. That's my opinion.
Right.
But that doesn't mean
that's reason enough. Someone's going to take him. I'm just thinking like someone. Let me throw some names out there, like quarterbacks who could jump. And look, they might be hovering, and people might like him around where the Saints are going to be picking in the first round. Someone like Will Howard or Jackson.
Oh God, no!
I'm just telling you, these names, they're going to trickle up, and it's similar to say Will Levis. It's similar to, I'm trying to remember, there's maybe a quarterback too. Like
Jalen Milroe.
Matt Corral.
Thank you, Gabe.
For
ruining my afternoon.
Like Matt Corral. Someone
if they draft Jalen Milroe
or
Jackson
Malik
Dart,
Willis a couple of years ago. Like guys like that.
If they go after any of those guys, if they go Milroe, Jackson Dart, Will Howard, I'm going to lose my shit on TV. I'm just going to say. There you go, Sean. That's what I think of the Jackson Dart. I think it's ridiculous. Okay. I just think it's absolutely absurd. Here's a good question to read out.
They got Quinn Ewers too, Riley Leonard, all these guys.
Get me off of this before I start going off and saying things I don't like to say.
I'm just telling you the options that are there. I'm not saying I like any of them.
Apathy asks, what do we make of the story about Carr possibly being moved to the Giants at 25? I think there's almost no chance, and the reason why I think there's almost no chance of him being moved, because regardless, the Saints are going to have to eat that dead cap money, whether they trade him or not. No one's going to take that money on. Okay. No one's going to take that cap hit on. So the chance of him being moved, in my opinion, Now, they might cut him because no one's going to, again, unless the Saints are just going to give him away and still eat the cap money, which you'd be better off cutting him. So I think the chances of him being moved are slim to none. That's my opinion. Your thoughts?
I'm assuming he's going to be the quarterback next year.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think it's 90%.
I just don't see the roadmap. And look, the roadmap you would take if you get rid of him. Say you're bringing in a veteran, you still got to pay the other veteran, and you're going to be paying Carr. The only roadmap would be if you love someone in the draft, and
right.
I don't where they're picking, say first round. I don't love anybody for that there. And you could. Here's the thing: the Saints, they are probably better off addressing the multitude of needs they have across the team, and
there are a multitude
of
needs. And look, I know I've been sitting here and I'm saying, look, and I've said this over and over again. My opinion is, and we'll talk more about this in March and April, but it keeps coming up. People want to hear about it. But the draft, my opinion is, if the Saints don't either do one of there are 4 things they could do. If they do any of the 4, I think they just need their heads examined. Draft an offensive lineman, draft a defensive lineman, trade down, or if he's available, take Ashton Genty. To me, if they do anything besides those 4 things, now they probably need their heads examined anyway, but you would hope that the next coach that comes in here will have a big say-so about this. That's my opinion.
I know we've had some mock drafts on The Athletic, and we've had the Saints drafting a safety in the first round, and I'm glad I don't write about it because I'd say, I don't care. No, I'm not drafting a safety. I don't care if he's the second coming. I mean, I cannot see that.
Why would you draft this? Why would you draft someone that's probably not going to start in year 1?
I think it's because he's he's a big playmaker. I haven't read a ton on it, but I think he's almost like he's so good that you can't pass him up there.
Yeah, so you can pass him up. We'll pass him
I'd pass him up.
Sean says Justin Fields possibly 1-year prove a deal. I mean, no, because you got Derek Carr, so you're not going to do that. Darren Briscoe says they need to fire GM Loomis to get this team back on track. Again, I'm going to say this, Larry. Just like, look, Sean Payton, I think we both know Sean Payton never answered to anyone. Okay, I think especially if the next coach is Mike McCarthy, which I'm been saying for well over a week. I think there's about an 80% chance that happens. I think Mike McCarthy would kind of step into the Sean Payton type role. And unlike in Dallas, where he probably didn't have as much say-so as he would have liked, I think here he would have a ton of say-so, which I think is a good thing.
I think they'll welcome it. Someone who knows what he's doing, they'll welcome it. Like that's because they haven't had that. Like, and look, here's the thing. He walks in with instant credentials.
Yep. I agree.
None of these other candidates do. The previous coach didn't. He walks in with instant credentials.
I think there's no question about that. Tim says Loomis can't trade up like he always does, trade down. Loomis, I don't think Loomis is the one that wants to trade up. Sean Payton was the one that not only wanted to trade up, but did trade up. So, I mean, that's where that was. All right, going back to the title, because we are going to talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs as a whole in just a minute. We got plenty of Saints. Look, all of you out there that only want to hear Saints, for the rest of this show, Larry's going to be on another 10 or 12 minutes, but for the rest of the show, which will last probably another 40 minutes, we're going to be back and forth between Saints and NFL playoffs. So don't get upset if we start talking about something else too. But I do want to talk about this. This is kind of the title of today's show. What is Kellen Moore's resume? And even though you're not super high on Kellen Moore, I do think that his resume and Joe Brady's resume are almost the same. If anything, Kellen Moore might be a little bit more suited to be a head coach, I think, than Joe Brady. They're both young.
Look, I just know Kellen Moore's hot. You know, he's hopped around with jobs just like Joe Brady's hopped around with jobs. And so I figured if you were really good at your job, you would be elevating and, you know, not hopping around being offensive coordinators. So that's, to me, I think that's, for any of those guys, it's a red flag for me, especially when you have somebody on the table like Mike McCarthy. And so, yeah, look, that's any of the candidates outside of him. I'm just thinking, okay, this is a gamble, but maybe that's what the Saints might have to be reduced to. But I think
Mike McCarthy, but I don't think he would be coming in for an interview if he wasn't interested in the job.
Right. Oh, I definitely think he's interested in the job. I think again, there's a familiarity. It's more with Loomis than anybody else in the building. It's not, that's what it is. So it's something that I just don't look. Maybe familiarity with Joe Brady has me preferring him over someone like Kellen Moore. I just don't buy Kellen Moore. I
hear you. I actually, and I've been saying this, I would rather Kellen Moore than Joe Brady, in my opinion, because I think that he's more suited and more ready, because I think he's just a little bit more experienced. But as Gabe points out, Gabe was saying Liam Cohen just got a job in Jacksonville. Liam Cohen's bounced around. He's had 12 jobs in 14 years. And he's getting a chance now to be a head coach. So I think that's interesting. Vincent, you asked, I was saying Loomis was a figurehead when Peyton was here. Figurehead might be too strong a word, but you covered that team through that era, Larry. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Sean Payton was the one making a lot, maybe not every decision, but a lot of the decisions.
Well, of course, but you also work lockstep with the general manager, and I know there's been times where they've definitely disagreed, and there's been times that Mickey Loomis has won those battles against Sean Payton internally. But does Sean Payton get a lot of things done that he wanted to? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he's also the type of guy that's an alpha, mega alpha, and you want your head coach to be that. And even though some of them might say they're mega alphas, some of them are not. But
right.
Yeah, look, I'll just put it to you this way. Okay, you could say Sean Payton did this, Sean Payton did that. I could tell you every single time, every day of the week, including Sunday, whatever, tomato, potato, saying you want to say, whose job was more secure in that building every day that they coexisted? Was it Sean Payton or Mickey Loomis? And every day it's Mickey Loomis there. Every day.
I hear you. I mean, I don't know that I'm as strong about it as you are, but I do think that Loomis gets way too much grief because people don't want to give him any, and I mean any, credit from when they were good, and which is absurd. You can't not give, if you're going to give him all the crap for when they stink, you can't give them no credit for when they were good. That's the most absurd. That's what really gets me ticked off, and that's why I do find myself backing up Mickey more than most people. H-Town, this is a comment we showed, and I'll bring it up. Kellen Moore has the same resume as Joe Brady is hilarious. Why? If anything, Kellen Moore has a better resume than Joe Brady. Kellen Moore is now as an offensive coordinator with his third NFL team, and he's been pretty successful at all three of those gigs. So why would you say that? Because you know the name Joe Brady more than you know Kellen Moore? That's ridiculous. But whatever. Anyway, moving on. Last question on the Saints. Again, I do want to talk about the NFL playoffs with you for 6 or 7 minutes, but I'm assuming you think it's going to be McCarthy.
I assume it's going to be McCarthy. Like, even I mentioned his name a bunch of months ago when we were talking about this.
You did.
I brought it up, and people kind of, I said, I'd keep an eye out on this. And so, yeah, that I would. I'm not going to say I wouldn't. Like, if they hired someone else, I'd say, well, give it a chance. Like, right. But this, to me, it seems like that he would be the one that would fit, and that people would and should want to have. I mean, I think the team is clearing the way.
They hired. They had a second interview. They did their in-person interview with Anthony Weaver yesterday. They're talking to Mike Kafka today. So that is the Rooney Rule. They get the Rooney Rule requirements done, and then next week, probably on Monday, I would imagine, either Monday or Tuesday, they bring in Mike McCarthy, and maybe they don't let him leave the building.
That would be optimal if that's what you wanted to do. So, I mean, yeah, look, to me, I just think it's a safe hire, but
I think
it's safe for a reason, because right. He's an established coach that's won a ton of games in his career. Like,
I agree.
That's not, and he's not. It's not like he doesn't want to coach anymore. It's not like he's like old, like
right.
Pete Carroll old, like you say. So.
Yeah, no, I think
it makes the most sense.
6 weeks. He's 6 weeks older than Sean Payton. So, and who that daddy says that's what the plan is. I mean, I think that's what the plan is. I think that's where we are. All right. I want to spend about 5-6 minutes here talking with you about your thoughts about the NFC and AFC championship games this weekend. The Commanders are a 6-point underdog against the Eagles. They've been an underdog the entire playoffs. They keep doing their thing. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills are 1.5-point dogs against the Kansas City Chiefs. Just your thoughts. Let's start with the NFC. Look, we're going to have my picks in the pick'em section, so I'm not going to make a pick yet. But your thoughts on Commanders and Eagles? It's just so tough to pick against Jaden Daniels, and I know why he keeps being the underdog. But man, what this kid has done as a rookie is just not something you see. It's about as often as snow in New Orleans.
Oh, I agree. And I think for us here, the best Super Bowl matchup would be Commanders-Bills. Because
I
you
agree.
have people coming in droves, new interest.
That's what my wife wants.
Jaden Daniels. I think that's what my wife is a Swiftie, so she's still on the.
My wife sells food. My wife is a manager of a food sales company. She wants the Commanders and the Bills to be. She wanted Detroit, but that got nixed.
Yeah, but I mean, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, one of them would be winning the Super Bowl. It would add a new element of parity in the NFL. I think that would be great for the league and great for the city. Now, will that happen? I don't know. As far as with Eagles and Commanders, obviously Detroit's defense was Swiss cheese, and they had been for a while, and it was going to catch up to
that, Randall. You hear that, Randall?
It's not Dan Campbell's fault that the entire unit got hurt. I'm not going to allow you to just totally. I know you're not.
You don't allow me. Dan Campbell is the most overrated coach, game day coach in maybe recent memory.
Yeah. Well, he's won a lot of games, but like I said, they'd go 15-2 and not make the Super Bowl. So I was right in that prediction. There you go.
You were absolutely right. I gave you credit for that, and I'll continue to give you credit for that. All right. What are your thoughts on the Commanders-Eagles game? All right, I'm going to put you on the spot now. You got 2.5 minutes before we can talk for 2.5 more minutes. What is your prediction on Commanders and Eagles?
I think Eagles defense is going to be tough to overcome. I know Jaden Daniels and the Commanders won last time, and it was kind of a shootout. So if the Commanders can do that, that's the game they want to play. But you know me with the Eagles, Saquon Barkley is the equalizer. In both of those games they played this year, even though they split, Saquon ran for like 140 and 150 in each game. I think that's going to be the difference, Saquon Barkley. So I think the Eagles are going to win.
Sean says Dan Campbell got DQ'd by Dan Quinn. That says a whole lot, in my opinion. He really got DQ'd by Jaden Daniels. I mean, again, I'm not giving Dan. I know I'm wrong. I get it. I'm being over harsh. It's my show. I can do that. I just think the Commanders got to where they are. It has almost, I'm not going to say nothing, but almost nothing to do with Dan Quinn. It has to do with Jaden Daniels, in my opinion.
Their defense got better. Like, they got better players. Their defense got better.
It was like 22nd in the NFL.
Better than 31st and 32nd.
They're not very good. They just
also, when you look at defensive numbers and if you're looking at yards, guess what? Teams have to play catch up because the Washington Commanders offense is scoring like crazy. So
hold on. Before I let you go, let's see. The Commanders last week gave up 521 yards of total offense.
Right. I'm not saying they're great, and Detroit's line offense is excellent outside of when they turn the ball over.
All right. Well, you already said the Eagles were going to win, so I'm not going to give you too much great. Jasper, thank you. This show is great. All right. Thoughts on Bills, Kansas City. Look, Bills, Kansas City. It's fun. It's what we look for. I know those teams probably don't like it, but I know us as NFL fans, I certainly enjoy it. Just like I enjoyed Ravens Bills last week, I'm going to have fun with this one just as much this week.
Look, I like both matchups in terms of star power and appeal. Like, it's hard to ask for better, honestly, especially just us here because we love to watch Jaden Daniels play. So that's another thing. We always say don't bet against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Right.
I'm going to do it. I made my pick. I've taken the Bills. I just think it's time. That's all. That's all I'm going for. I just think
I don't want to give
bad logic.
I don't want to
just
give
think
any
it's
spoiler alerts, but I asked the question last week, and I know you weren't on the show last week. You had something going on. You weren't on the show, but
Rummel career day, baby.
I told this to UBN last week, and I'm going to say it again this week. Again, not to give any spoiler, but why is this week? Why is this year any different? It's always going to be different this time, just like last week for the Ravens. It's going to be different this time because he's got Derrick Henry. It's not going to be any different. They're still going to lose. To say, why is it any different this time? It's official. UBN says you hate Taylor Swift.
I hate Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I got, dude, I've heard so much Taylor Swift in my life because my wife loves Taylor Swift.
I live in a house full of 3 females. I completely get it. All right. Final thoughts before we let you go this morning. I know you're looking forward to this weekend. I mean, are you going to be writing about that Paul Skeens card while you're watching championship games? I mean,
I've already written about it. Story's filed. It's about to be published.
It's about to be go bye-bye.
Riding that train. That's the biggest talk in the hobby right now. So it's a fun job.
Well, I got my subscription to the Athletic. Please send me the link when it's done. I'll have to go take a look at it and read it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying it's like I'm sure I'm going to be involved in something in other coverage, but it's a fascinating world, and I'm enjoying it, and it's it's a refresher. It's like I'm thinking of Sean Payton, a career refresher. Maybe I'd jump back in. Who knows? But if it's the way it is right now, I wouldn't want to jump back in. This is fun, and I mean, it's a real job. I can't believe it. Instead of going to road games and managing NFL coverage, I get to watch stuff. And you know what? If I want to travel out of town, I'm going to a card show. Where's the pressure there? Okay, fine.
No pressure. You still got cojones, my friend, to make that move.
I appreciate.
I mean, you're only like what 3 years younger than Pete Carroll. I mean, when you get to that age.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Like all right, we will talk to you next week, and hopefully a week after we will be sitting next to one another, talking to one another. So
I'm gonna bet. I'll assume that we're doing that. So we'll figure all that out.
Have a great week, my friend. Thaw out.
All right, buddy. You too.
Talk to you later.
Yeah. Larry
Holder, everybody. I always have fun with Larry. I mean, I know I say that, but it's true. We have fun. It's almost time for. I don't know if the next segment is going to be as much fun. These two guys are really kind of clowns. One of them even he's got. Can't wait to show you Uncle Big Nick's beard. I don't know. We probably won't talk about Dan Rizzi. You know what doesn't rhyme with Rizzi? Evangeline Securities. That doesn't rhyme with Rizzi. That was bad. I know. We told you earlier we'll let you know more about how they can help you figure out what your family run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. Sell doesn't rhyme with Rizzi either, by the way. How do they do it? Well, after their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Brady and Ron Hamilton, the folks at Evangeline, will begin an extensive auction process among established private equity funds from around the world. They will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. So for Shizzy, don't get dizzy. Never mind. That was bad. I get it. It's all right. I'm not going to let it go now. I'm not. Well, you know what I mean. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and none with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed and ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It ain't no Rizzi. It ain't no McCarthy. It ain't Bills and the Chiefs. It ain't Commanders and Eagles. What is really important? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Now it's time, boys and girls, for the segment you've all been waiting for.
Uncle Big Nick, can we make some picks today? Well, can we please?
All right. It's not Pixie Dust Thursday, but it's Pixie Dust nevertheless. What's going on, boys? Nick, can you raise yourself up?
I'm still in hibernation. It's like
can't
still
sleep on the
20
show.
degrees.
What's with the beard, dude?
That's what happens when I'm inside for 5 days straight and can't do nothing.
You look like a grizzly bear.
At least it's not all gray. I mean, it's gray up here.
Who are you
Grizzly
talking
bear
about?
doesn't
You,
technically rhyme with Rizzy, but kinda.
It's not all gray. It's not
Grizzly and Rizzy. Yeah, that's close.
Rizzy.
The Rizzy bear.
Rizzy.
All of a sudden, he's a rapper.
All right. Anyway, let's move on. You see the standings on the bottom
Jim,
of the
can I ask a
screen.
question before?
Yeah, sure. Please, by all means.
When you go 15-2 and they hand you the Super Bowl trophy at the end of the season, does he have to bring the Super Bowl trophy back when you don't win it, or do they come pick it up?
Well, they've never had a Super Bowl trophy, so I don't think the Lions would even know what to do with a Super Bowl
I mean,
trophy.
didn't they give it to him after the season, though? It was done deal.
Oh,
They wanted it
according to
already?
Randall, they did.
I mean, greatest coach in the history of the NFL.
Maybe he fumbled it or he threw it to the other team like Jared Goff did.
God, that was bad. I wasn't here last week to be able to talk about that, but
That was, I got to be honest. If I'd have had Randall's phone number, I'd have been lighting up his phone that night.
yeah, but you kind of don't want Randall having your phone number.
Probably true. But we love Randall nonetheless. I don't think.
Yeah, he's awesome. It's just
think
we got to give him some crap.
I think he might have disappeared for a minute. Lance Dobart said UBN has lost the will to live since Aaron Glenn is going to the Jets.
No, I don't. You know me,
I
the
don't think he
Saints. I don't care.
cares.
Yeah.
No,
Aaron Glenn is a Niners
I want them to
fan.
keep Rizzy.
Yeah. Aaron Glenn definitely. Yeah.
I want Spencer Rattler to start all 16 games.
Yes, you do.
18 games, whatever it is.
There's no question about it. Gabe, what's up?
Not much.
I
Just trying
mean-
to think of things that rhyme with
Gabe, you got to
orange.
get more facial hair.
I mean, I'd
know.
like to make fun of you because your team the first week you won't be able to, but my team has stunk so bad for the last 4 years I can't even like muster up an insult. I don't know.
my team
My
either
team
goes
lost
to
to
the
the
NFC
Chiefs.
Championship games or they don't make the playoffs. So
Everybody loses to the Chiefs.
Exactly.
not this week.
Oh, well, can't wait to dive into that. All right, here we go. I have reached into my bag of tricks for 24 points. The way that this pick'em works and the way we're going to do it again
You
this
had
week,
23. You got 24?
unless my Shaw math fails me, got 24.
I mean,
Could be.
okay.
We'll add them up again. But by all means, you should all add them up and tell me if
I
I'm
want to
wrong.
add mine up.
All right. We're not going to talk anymore about
We
the
didn't even
standings
take our
this week.
shoes off to add ours up, Gabe.
Yeah.
You count on your toes. Big Nick. You hear that? Nick's got 11 toes. We're gonna get to that H-Town. How's the weather in Philly on Sunday?
I can actually tell you.
I
It's
know
gonna be
what it is.
26 degrees,
Yes,
no
and
rain,
balmy.
6 mile an hour winds west.
Yeah, it's gonna
Just
be
like
nice,
it is here.
nice.
I'm just I have it
Pretty
right
much.
in front of me because I'm writing a piece about it right now.
All right.
Actually, you know what? No, sorry. That's Bills Chiefs. My bad.
No, but it's gonna be like 42 degrees, I think, in Philly. Is what I saw.
Not
I think
much.
is what
Not
I saw.
much chances.
About the same as it is here in New Orleans. Okay.
Mhm.
Again, if you're new to the show and you don't know how this works with our pick'em, we have 15 total points that we can get for this week. Okay, so not being a match,
Contrary to popular belief,
Can.
me and
Emphasis
Gabe
on can.
haven't had
Can.
negative points yet.
we don't do negative points, so that means you got to make 5
Thank
picks in 2 games this week. There are rules though. You have to pick at least a spread or a total from each game. Okay. But you can't get away. You can do props, but you got to pick at least a spread or a total from each game. And you can only make a maximum of 3 picks per game. So you can't put 4 on one game and 1 on the other. So those are the rules. And real quick, Sean, I'll answer your question. Do I see the Saints waiting to make a decision after Kingsbury is available for an interview? I sure hope not, because I don't think Kingsbury is a. And in reality, the question
Jim
not
has
just what
such a short list of coaches that are
I
good.
do. And the
They
one,
might,
that's
okay,
gonna-
here-
This
the one that's gonna get hired is probably the one that I would.
Let me say this to kind of answer the question.
Yeah,
Do I see
absolutely.
them?
Go ahead.
Do I see them waiting that long to make a decision? They might wait until next week. They'll probably wait
They might.
until next week.
They might
But
wait, but I don't think
It's
nothing
not
to do with
because of Kingsbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
I
Not got
don't-
anything to do with Kingsbury.
In real answer to your question, Sean, I don't think they're waiting for Kingsbury at all.
No.
Kingsbury is kind of, if you go back and see what he said a week or so ago, I think he's kind of made it clear that he's okay with staying with the Commanders another season. I think that he thinks his stock is, and he might be right. If he has another year in Washington, he's betting on himself. He's betting on Jaden Daniels. if he has another year in Washington like he had this year, I think Kingsbury could be the hot coaching candidate in next year's cycle.
Do you know why he's waiting, Jim? Do you know why Kingsbury is waiting?
No, I don't.
Because Kingsbury coached Patrick Mahomes in college.
Oh, he wants to be. He's not going to be the Chiefs coach.
Andy Reid he's flirted with retirement for the last few years.
Oh, I'm not saying Andy Reid wouldn't retire.
I think that's what Kingsbury might be waiting on.
Jaden's fixing to make Kingsbury a lot of money.
There's no doubt about it. Jaden Daniels is definitely going to make. I mean, really, Cliff Kingsbury could be the number one guy going into next year.
I don't think it's a stretch of any imagination to see Kingsbury as the next Chiefs coach.
Yeah,
if Patrick Mahomes wants him, Patrick Mahomes is going to get him.
You're right, though, and it could be, again, if he is the number one candidate going into next year and Andy Reid does retire. But I got to say, I got to be honest, it wouldn't shock me at all if Andy Reid retired after this. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl again, I mean,
yeah,
three and out. I mean, that's a different kind of 3 and out. That's a 3 and out that nobody else gets a chance to do.
Andy Reid and Travis Kelce are on retirement watch.
Are Cliff and Mahomes still close? I don't know, Gabe, but they still close?
I don't know.
Are they as close as NFL referees in Mahomes? Or no?
Oh, boy, here we go. All right, moving on.
No one's as close as that.
All right, time to make our picks here for the NFC title game. Again, Commanders are a 6-point underdog at Philly. Over under a 47.5. I did not check it this morning. I guess I should have, but this is what it was late last night before I went to sleep at about 11:30 last night.
Is it weird that both games on the same over under? That's like.
Well, it's not now, actually. The other one moved to 48.5.
It just was weird when I
but it was all week. And then, yes, it was very weird. All right. Speaking of that, I'm going to start with the man who has the most picks on this game. You have 8 total points in this game, Uncle Big Nick. I'm going to start. You stayed away from the spread. Y'all both did, and y'all have different totals. Tell me, first of all, before we get to the individual prop bets, why did you take the over 47.5?
Jaden Daniels is at his best in the second half and the fourth quarters. And I like the game was last week when the Rams just drove down the field into the game and scored. I think something like that could happen in this game also. It stays under for a while and then just breaks out in the second half. Both these teams, this is the third time they play each other, so they both know each other. That kind of scares me, but they could have new wrinkles here. Mitchell's kind of banged up, but I think he's going to play. If he's 100%, I'll get into the props later, but I just think that this game has a potential to be over 47.5, just like last week when it happened.
Who Dat Daddy says taking the points and is taking the under. That leads into Gabe Henderson, who's taking the under 47.5, is opposing Uncle Big Nick. Uncle Big Nick's got over 47.5 as a 2-point pick. Gabe's got the under as a 4-point pick. Gabe, give me your reasoning for taking the under.
I think the two games between these teams this season kind of skewed a lot of opinions. I mean, Philly was super banged up in that second game. Let's be honest.
They still put up 31 with Pickett.
I don't think they really cared about that game.
I could see that for sure.
And I think so. I think when you're looking at this game, I'm almost throwing away everything that happened in that game, and I'm looking. This is going to be a lot more like the first game when those two teams played, and they went under 47.5 in that game. They only scored 42 combined points, I believe, or was it 44? Either way, they went under 47.5. And I just think, this Philly defense, they proved me wrong last week. They showed up. I know the elements helped a lot, but I think, they've got the number one scoring defense in the league. I'm not saying Jaden Daniels is going to be kept quiet, but I think this is going to be a really low scoring game. I think both teams are going to try and grind it out. And I think it goes under.
So Gabe Henderson's 4-point pick, under 47, H-Town Creole. Y'all could go visit each other. Y'all both living in H-Town. He's with us on Kingsbury Standing of the Year with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels kept the heat off of Brian Kelly's ass. Another Brian Kelly hater. Look, I think, and Uncle Big Nick, I'm hearing an echo, by the way. I don't know if you can turn me down a little bit. I went with Philly for the same reason that I went with Philly last week and ended up getting a push. I think that people are kind of going off what they saw last week. It's the same reason why if I had to take a total, I think I'd be on Gabe's side here. Because I think that people are their bias. Oh, Washington scored 45 points by themselves last week. They're automatically going to go over. So I think this number is inflated. I think the 47.5 under normal situations, I guess, probably should be closer to 45 or 45 and a half, maybe even 44 and a half. So I think that they inflated this number because they knew they were going to get a lot of over bets. And 76, as I looked yesterday, 76% of the bets on the game were on Washington +6 because, and I hate betting against Jane Daniels here, but this is my number one play of the week. I think the Philly defense is much better than people give them credit for. I think that even Jane Daniels is, as Superman as he's been, because that's what he's been. I mean, I've never seen as cool a cucumber a rookie. Even Brock Purdy getting to the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago, who I thought was just insanely stupid good. I think Jaden Daniels even been better than Brock Purdy was a couple
Tom
of years
Brady's
ago.
mentioning your heart rate on the sidelines at the middle of the game. He's like, well, this kid looks like he's got a 32 heart rate. And he's down.
It's insane.
Like, this kid's special.
But I think that Jane Daniels finally shows that he's human this week. And I do think that Saquon is just that damn special and is going to prove to the league again that even though he's not going to get the MVP, he should get the damn MVP because he is the MVP. And I think, look, I thought about taking, there was a prop bet that I thought about taking. I think Saquon's like +350 to score twice. I think you're getting value there. I think there's a real chance that he scores twice.
The only thing that scares me with that is the tush push stuff.
Yeah, no, and it's why I kind of stayed away from it.
Jalen's got a hurt knee, so do they use the tush push? Do they save it? Do they use it?
I think
they still use
it. That's another prop I almost took. Jalen Hurts is over 40 yards rushing is like propped up to like +250 or something. I also like that number. I didn't take it, but I think they're overplaying how much he's hurt. They've done this before. Okay, I'm not saying he's not hurt, but I think that Jalen Hurts is going to also play a bigger role in running the football. I just think, look, I think the Eagles are going to do their thing. And, I'm going to go to you next, Gabe. So again, that's my only 5-point pick. I got Philly -6. I think they win this game by 2 touchdowns. But Gabe, going to your prop bet for 2 points, you got Saquon over 12.5 receiving yards. I love this pick, actually. I think he is going to play a big role as much out of the backfield. He might catch 3 or 4 passes.
This in one catch.
Exactly. Easily one catch. And even if he doesn't do it in one catch, I think Saquon will have like 3 catches in this game. He's going to play a bigger part in the screen game.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon Barkley, if you look back at that first Washington matchup, set his season high in receiving yards with 59 or 52. Set season high against Washington. And more, I'm going to contradict myself here a little bit because I told people to kind of ignore what happened in the second game. And I know Jalen Hurts was out, so you got to kind of take this with a pinch of salt. You saw Washington in that second half really kind of figure out how they wanted to play Saquon Barkley, and that really helped them get back into the game. They forced Kenny Pickett to throw it. Yeah. And I think, if you're Washington, why not go all out to stop the run and force Jalen Hurts to throw it? Because as you mentioned,
like
he's not 100%.
Everybody's been doing that for the last 5 weeks. It's like not no secret.
They haven't, though, because Jalen Hurts has only thrown for like 120 yards.
That's what I mean. No, I'm talking about the defenses. The defense has been stacking the box for the last 5 weeks, and nobody's been able to stop them.
No, I'm not saying they're going to be able to stop him. I don't think they are because Saquon Barkley is super.
The only thing to stop Barkley is Barkley.
But the thing is, they might stop him a few times on first down, and the Eagles then find themselves in second and long situations, and that's when the screen comes into effect, as Jim noted earlier. So I really like Saquon to go over 12.
And I don't know how healthy the librarian is. So
here's a pick. Charles thinks Daniels will pass for 3 and run for 2.
Wow.
I don't say 0.0 when you're talking about game props that often, but
that's got to be plus like 10,000.
That ain't happening. That's 5 touchdowns. Washington's not scoring 5 touchdowns.
Let me see. While you guys talk, I'm going to see if you can get a market for that.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a parlay. See what the parlay on that would be if you can. While we're going real quick. Real quick, also for those of you, I said we would get back to the Saints when we're done with our pick'em segment here. The last 10, maybe 12, 14 minutes of the show is going to go back to the Saints. I am going to talk more about the coaching search when we're done. So if you're waiting for us to talk about more about Saints, I will when the segment's over in about 10 minutes or so. UBN, you got player props, 2 of them here, 1 for 4 points. Austin Eckler over 3.5 receptions. And that's actually, I think that's a plus value you're getting there. 2-point pick. Olamide Zacchaeus over 2.5 receptions as well. So you got a couple players, Eckler and Zacchaeus, with their overs.
Yeah, I just think with this game, you're going to have Jaden passing a lot. And, I mean, start with Eckler. Eckler has 3 catches in both the playoff games, at least 3. And in 4 games that were underdogs, he's had at least 5 receptions. So I could see, just dumps off to Eckler, and 4 catches is nothing for him.
Right.
Zacchaeus, too. Zacchaeus had 0 catches last game, but he kind of left the field with an injury, a little light injury, nothing serious. And it's just Scary Terry. I think he's going to be locked up by Mitchell. So I could see Jaden Daniels having to go to other places. Scary Terry against Philly for the 2 games only has 6 catches for 70 yards.
Yeah.
So Mitchell has done
Merry
a good
Christmas,
job stopping
gents.
him.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
The Houston Texans just fired Bobby Slowick.
Oh, wow.
That's no surprise, honestly.
Yeah.
And people were talking about him as a potential head coach candidate. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jets interviewed him.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right.
By the way, for just to
Go
circle back, you can't parlay those picks.
You cannot.
You cannot parlay those picks, but you can get Jaden Daniels to score 2 rushing touchdowns at plus 1,700.
Wow.
At DraftKings, and 3 plus passing touchdowns for plus 515.
Okay, so I can tell you that parlay, if I can do the math in my head real quick, is somewhere around plus 6,500.
Let me see if you can do it at other books.
If you bet $100, you'd get about 6,500 in return, or 10, you'd get 650 in return. So if you really believe that, Charles, you need to go find a book that will take that.
I was
bet.
close.
I ain't betting it. All right. Look, I'm going to close out the NFC title game picks again. This is the first game Sunday at 2 p.m. Back to real quick my spread pick and taking Philly -6. The Eagles are 5-1-1 against the spread at home in the playoffs since 2018. And this season, not only are they 10-1 at home this season, their only loss came against Atlanta in week 2. So they have won every game since week 2 at home. And their average margin, including the loss, their average margin at home this year is plus 9.1. So just saying. And their only loss since week 4 came in week 16 when they lost to the Commanders 36-33. But I agree with Gabe. I'm not even sure how much they even cared in that game. They certainly didn't go all out. And Jalen Hurts didn't play in that game as well. Go ahead,
just
real quick.
Circle back one more time, FanDuel does accept that play.
What is it?
You can get Jaden Daniels to score 2 plus touchdowns and 3 plus passing touchdowns. Same game parlay plus 18,530. So $10.
Way off.
$10 wins you 1,853.
There you go, Charles. You should definitely go do that at FanDuel if you can. Okay. Also here, and my prop bet is a 1-point pick. I got Philadelphia more punts, and I know you might think that kind of contradicts my Philadelphia -6, but here's the thing.
Washington don't punt.
Washington doesn't punt. You know how many punts Washington has made in their 2 playoff games so far? Uno. 1. How about the Eagles? 9. They've made 9 punts. And you can get this. Eagles, yesterday at least, it was plus 245. So you want to talk about value. I think you're getting great value on Philadelphia to have more punts. At plus 245, I'm definitely going to be putting money on
My
it.
favorite bet last week was plus 205, was under 6.5 punts in the Detroit-Washington game.
Yeah.
They only punted twice.
Well, and that's why I think, look, I know it sounds crazy, but Sirianni, he gets the rep as this gambler kind of coach, but I don't think he knows what he wants to do.
No, he gambles at the
He doesn't know
wrong time.
he gambles all the time, but it's like he flips a coin to gamble. Am I going to heads? I'm going to gamble. Tails, I'm going to play a conservative.
Am I hit on 16 or am I not going to hit on 16?
Exactly.
You guys ever seen Ratatouille?
Yes.
I feel like Nick Sirianni's got a rat controlling him under his beanie.
Oh, you
Dude
said
doesn't
rat.
know where he
You
is
know what
half the
that's going to
time.
bring out.
Rat.
Here we go.
No, I'm not going to do it. All right, here we go. We're going to move on again. So real quick, I'll go through them. 5-point pick for me, Philadelphia -6. 1 point, Philadelphia more punts. Again, you're getting value at plus 245. Nick's got for 2 points over 47.5. For 4 points, he's got Eckler over 3.5 receptions. 2 points, Zacchaeus over 2.5 receptions. Gabe's got 4 points under 47.5. 2-point pick, Saquon over 12.5 receiving yards. All right, here we go. The game of games. Gabe said it about 1 minute after the game was over, after the Bills-Ravens game was over. I can already type it in that Jim's going to take the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, I don't know what do you need to bang your head with a baseball bat over and over? Obviously, Uncle Big Nick does, but I'm sorry. I'm not hitting myself in the head with a baseball bat anymore. I did it last year. I don't remember what game I did.
I'd rather do that than deal with snow again.
You can deal with whatever you want. You don't bet against God in the playoffs. You simply don't do it. And I'll start it off 3-point pick only because I swear it was like I want to bet Buffalo so bad because it just seems like Buffalo should win this game. But past history over and over again tells me differently. Mahomes versus Buffalo in the regular season is 1-4 with 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Versus Buffalo in the playoffs, he's 3-0 straight up and against the spread with 8 touchdowns and no interceptions. There is no team that Patrick Mahomes enjoys beating more in the playoffs than the Buffalo Bills. You can circle the wagons, round them up, whatever you want to do. I'm taking Kansas City -1.5. Gabe, you agree with me? It's your 4-point pick.
I have a gut feeling like UBN that Buffalo wins this game. However,
so do I, and I
have said for 2 years now that you do not bet against God, and I'm sticking to that. My gut, my heart aside, I'm going with my brain, and my brain has told me this. As you mentioned, the Bills have never beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, that's really all you need to say about it.
Lance Dobart says, Rattler, baby, the agenda. Gabe's in. He gets it real slick. Ratatouille.
By the way, I also saw some comments asking about whether Bobby Slowick was the problem in Houston. As someone who watched every minute of Texans football this year, yes, he was absolutely a problem.
Here we go. The refs will give Kansas City the game because they want to. That is okay. Let me compose myself here. Especially Adam is a member of the. I think just
the opposite. I think the refs are going to go out their way
to
try and improve that they don't give him calls. But I don't know. Is it my turn yet?
Yeah, go ahead. You got. I mean, it's just like y'all thinking. 3-point pick. You got the Buffalo money line, which is about like even money right now. Yeah. It's like even money. Go ahead.
It's I just think it's time. I think it's Josh Allen's time this year to win this game. And I mean, last time he left the field against them in the playoffs, he was winning. He drove them down the field. They were winning. The defense gave it up. I just think it's his time. I think Mahomes and them are great. Would I be surprised if they win? No, I'm not going to be surprised. They win. They're supposed to win. It's just I don't know. I just think this team.
You don't learn any lessons, do you?
I don't.
It's got to end at some point, but you wait till it ends. Oh, look, I'm going to be so mad if I miss the train. It's been going on for.
I'm not going to be mad if I miss this pick. It's just.
I mean, you wait till after. You don't bet it. You say, okay, I missed one.
There's a reason why a team
you keep staying undefeated with him. Stay undefeated with him.
There is a reason that a team has never won 3, but to counter that, no team has ever had Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly. There goes
who that Mahomes is better than Brady.
Who that daddy's right.
I think he's already better than Montana. I think he's well on his way to being better than Brady.
And look, UBN, you know how I hate Montana because every time he played the Saints, he would just beat him. But I've said my entire adult life that Joe Montana is the greatest player who's ever played in this game. I think it is really, really close right now. I don't know who I'd take. I'd have a 1A and 1B. One more Super Bowl. If he wins this Super Bowl, I got to do it. I got to say Mahomes is the GOAT if he wins this Super Bowl. I just did. Anyway.
I don't agree.
Silence from,
I'm never going to agree.
The bearded man. All right. So our game picks, Gabe and I are both on Kansas City -1.5. Gabe's got 4 points. I got 3 points. Uncle Big Nick has got the Buffalo money line as his 3-point pick.
I know it's impossible, but I wish you could like put different quarterbacks in different eras.
Okay, hold on.
Joe Montana and Jerry Rice could be in this era when he can't touch anybody.
Lance is saying Mahomes, he gets Mahomes great, but Andy's a big part of it. 100%. So is Bill Walsh a big part of why Joe Montana was great. Every great quarterback, they play off of each other. You don't think Sean Payton became great because he had Drew Brees? Let's just say he had, I don't know.
Look at Belichick's record.
Let's say he got Dante Culpepper instead of Drew Brees. Would he have been
Don't
as great?
disrespect Dante Culpepper.
Give me a break. Anyway.
I mean, Andy Reid took Donovan McNabb 4 straight NFC Championship games too. So
yeah. Okay. I'm going to go first here in the player prop section of this. Again, we got about 3 or 4 more minutes because we got to move on and wrap this show up. But I'm betting on Mahomes I got 9 points basically riding on Mahomes here. Okay. Kansas City -1.5, and both my prop bets are 3-point picks. They're both on Mahomes. Okay. Mahomes, I just told you, in the playoffs against Buffalo, has thrown 0 interceptions in the 3 games. And you can get under a half of interception, which basically means no interceptions, at DraftKings for -110, which is basically even money, 50%, right down the line. I think Mahomes does his thing, doesn't throw interception, doesn't turn the ball over. And as far as under 36.5 pass attempts, I think Kansas City's running game is going to be a much bigger part of this one than some of the Bills games past. In the last game, Mahomes didn't throw 36.5 passes against Buffalo. It didn't need to. I think Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are both going to be big time parts of this game. I don't think Mahomes will. He might not even throw 30 passes in this game. So I like him to throw under 36.5 passes and to not throw an interception. I'm betting on God, Gabe. There's nothing wrong with that.
So you betting on God to not have to throw the ball a lot.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't think he's going to have to throw the ball a whole lot.
I don't think Buffalo's going to give him a lot of possessions.
I think there'll be a lot of long extended drives. I'm thinking this game is going to be a lot of. This
game I like the under. I almost took that.
Yeah, and Buffalo.
I almost took the under.
I like the under as well. And Buffalo showed last week that they can win a game without Josh Allen throwing the ball all over the place. I think they're going to try to run the same kind of game plan and keep because look, we all know that they're going to come after Josh Allen if they can, and if they can keep the pressure on him and have him running, and if they run the ball as effectively, I think we got a great game on our hands.
It's going to be a great game regardless, I think.
All right, Gabe, your prop bets, you got 3 point on Kareem Hunt scoring anytime touchdown. You got 2 points. Kelsey over 6.5 receptions. I actually almost took that. We saw last week that Kelsey in the playoffs here, his swan song. Don't be surprised if Kelsey's done when the season's over. He might have one more season in him, but he's close to the end of the line.
I think he's done if they win.
He might be done if they win.
I hinted at it earlier. I mean, Andy Reid and Travis Kelsey are both on retirement watch if they win.
Yeah, they might run.
They were last year too.
I wonder what's Kelsey to win Super Bowl MVP, Gabe? Well, you can talk about your picks first. Go ahead.
Yeah, but go ahead and talk about your picks.
I'll talk about my picks, and I'll
especially with Kelsey, because I really agree with that one. I like Nick's as well. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Hunt. If you look back at the last few years during this run of what they're going on 3 straight Super Bowls, the Chiefs really have a back in the postseason that they lean on. It was Jerick McKinnon a few years ago, Isaiah Pacheco last year, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire before that, and then Kareem Hunt has really been that dude in the red zone this year. He's got touchdowns in his last 3. I think he's a perfect red zone bruiser. Isaiah Pacheco is the guy who will get you down the field, but Kareem Hunt, he's still got that raw power.
Yeah,
and so that's why I'm taking a flyer on him. I couldn't believe he was still plus odds. I believe on the market he's up to plus 80 at some books,
right?
Or plus 180. I couldn't believe that. So I think he's really a good shout in the Kansas City backfield because he's been getting those carries. And then Kelsey, I mean, playoff Kelsey is just different. There's no other way
it was last week.
There's no stats to. I mean, there are stats to back it up. There's countless stats to back it up. But I mean, if you look, he hasn't gone over 6.5 receptions against the Bills historically that often. I think just in the last few years that I was looking, maybe like 3 and 8 games, but one of those games he had 13 receptions. A few of them he had 6. I just think, he's such a big part of what Kansas City wants to do. Patrick Mahomes has showed that no matter who they bring in, be it Xavier Worthy or DeAndre Hopkins,
doesn't matter,
or whoever it is, it doesn't really matter because he goes back to old reliable every single time, and Kelsey just finds ways to get open. There's nothing you can really do about it. So I like him to go over for sure.
Yeah, and Barry, a couple of things here. We're talking about goats based on Super Bowl wins. It's Brady. I don't base my goat quote
That
unquote
ain't
goat
how
on,
that ain't
on
how I
Super
do
Bowl
goats.
wins. I mean, if you're doing that, then Trent Dilfer's got to be in your top 20 or 25 quarterbacks of all time. I mean, that's,
Well, even if you want to do it like that, I mean, Mahomes is still up there. 'Cause,
That's a whole different
if
show.
he wins this one, he's now done something that
exactly
no one else has
no
done.
one else has
This will
done,
be his
including
fourth-
Brady.
It'll be his fourth ring.
Fourth
I mean,
and let's see, 18, 19,
he's
20, 1, 2,
29.
3, 4, 5, and 9 seasons. It'll be his fourth in 9 seasons. That's something that Brady couldn't do. And Charles, we act like the Chiefs are unbeatable. No, that's not what we said. We didn't say they're
Never said
unbeatable.
that.
What
What do you mean,
Gabe,
y'all? I picked against them.
yeah, what Gabe and I are
Come on.
saying is we don't bet against God because he's God right now in NFL. I don't care what you say. He is.
I bet against him 2
Okay.
years ago in the Super Bowl, and I haven't done it since, and it's paid out.
Yeah. So
You
anyway,
just don't bet against him in the playoffs. It just
Right.
doesn't happen.
if you want to
And
bet against him,
until someone beats him, I'm not going to.
yeah. If you want to bet against them, feel free. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Keep losing.
Absolutely.
Because if you bet against them in any of the past 4 years in the playoffs or 3.5 years in the playoffs, you've lost. So if you want to keep losing, if you want to keep beating your head with a baseball bat, Uncle Big Nick, go ahead. But anyway, I really do like your 5-point pick. In fact, Gabe doesn't have a 5-point pick, do you?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Uncle Big Nick has got my 5-point pick is Philly -6. You got a 5-point pick, and I endorse it wholeheartedly. Should have thought about
Kelsey,
putting it in here. Kelsey over 70.5 yards.
he's going 70+ yards in the playoffs, 14 straight games. So why is this going to be any different? Like,
Oh,
that's
you're
who-
not using the why is this going to be any different excuse, are you?
Yeah,
You didn't
yeah.
use it for your Buffalo money line.
No, I didn't. Because I mean, I don't believe in that. But it's but Mahomes scrambles, like y'all said. He looks for Kelsey. Kelsey has a way of just making himself open for Mahomes to throw it to him all the time. Everybody knows Kelsey's getting the ball, and they still can't stop him.
Nope.
So
can't.
he's gonna get
I agree.
his 70-something yards, and they're gonna lose. So I mean, it's
By the way, on the back of that, UBN, to answer your question, Kelsey, the best odds you can find on Kelsey is plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl MVP at FanDuel.
I think Barkley's like plus 650 too,
Is he?
which is crazy.
can-
Oh, I got to go put some money on that.
I can look at that. Give me
Last
give me a
week
look.
he was plus 650.
The
I don't know
only
what he-
reason that I would caution you against that is because Patrick Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls and he's been Super Bowl MVP in all 3 of them.
Yeah, but don't you get fatigued with that? Because Edelman won it one year.
I don't know because he's won it the last 2 years. It truly takes something special to take that away from Barkley is plus 450, best
Right.
market at FanDuel.
All right, to recap.
Which is weird because they're betting favorites to make it to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. But if they win the Super Bowl, it's
Well,
going to be on Barkley.
They're the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl because
they got
they're
a
the
better,
favorites to
easier
get there.
path. I know.
They would be
It would be
1.5
you to
point
But I
dogs.
still
bet-
like Saquon at plus 650 right
Yeah.
now.
I'd, ra-
Now
yeah, I'd
450,
rather bet
plus 450.
Saquon MVP than bet Philly making
Chop
winning the
that
Super
around.
Bowl.
You could probably find that a better number. That you got to shop that
no
around.
plus 450 is the best.
That's the best number.
best number you can find.
All right. Anyway, all right. Real quickly to recap what we got here. My 3-point pick, Kansas City -1.5. 2 other 3-point picks, Mahomes with no interceptions, and also another 3-point pick, Mahomes under 36.5 pass attempts. Uncle Big Nick, his 3-point pick, Buffalo money line, got a 5-point pick on Kelsey over 70.5 yards. Gabe Henderson, 4-point pick, Kansas City -1.5. 3-point pick, Kareem Hunt, anytime touchdown. 2-point pick, Travis Kelsey over 6.5 receptions. Guys, I really like our picks this week, except when we disagree, then I like mine. Charles says if Kelsey retires, no more Taylor Swift. See, that's
Be careful
why.
what you wish
Hold
for,
on,
Charles.
No, you know what? We're going to get into this as soon as I get off of this. Guys, I will talk to y'all next week. We're running long. We're going to have fun with it next week. We will be back. Even though we won't have picks next
I won't
Friday.
be here next week.
You won't be here. Okay, well.
I'll be on a cruise.
Oh,
I'll be here.
Gabe will be here. We'll talk to you then.
I
in 2
won't.
weeks.
Nick, I won't be here at all. No comments. No nothing.
We got you. I'm not going to comment. See y'all later.
Later.
We're going to finish with Saints, but I want to talk about this real quickly. The reason why people hate Kansas City, it's like we talked about innate biases the other day. You have innate biases. Okay, I have them too. Everybody does. You're a human. If you're human, you have innate biases. You can't deny them. You could be the greatest person who ever walked the earth. Everybody loves that dude or that lady or whatever. That person has biases too. Okay. And it ticks people. I get it. Sometimes it ticks me off. I'm like, oh God, I'll roll my eyes too. Taylor Swift and all that stuff. You get tired of seeing the same thing because you want someone else to have a chance at greatness. Okay? The reason why I think Patrick Mahomes could end up being one of the greatest player that's ever played the game, it's not just because he's won Super Bowls, but it's what he does in games, things that he does that no one else can do. He continues to do things that no one else can do. Here's my example, my most recent example. I don't remember what the score was. I think it was 3rd and goal. I don't remember exactly the play. It might have been 4th down. There was a play when Mahomes was being sacked, and as he's going down to the ground, with basically in air, he throws about an 18-yard dart, and I think it was to Kelsey, who was standing there in the end zone by himself. You go back and find the play that I'm talking about. There isn't a single person on the planet, including Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Jaden Daniels, whoever you want to name, go back in time, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Lamar Jackson. No one could make that play. Not a single person could make that play. And they didn't even make that big of a deal about it. You know why? Because he's Patrick Mahomes and he's better than everybody else. I get it. You're tired of the same thing. You want your New Orleans Super Bowl to be different than the other Super Bowls. Bills Commanders would be different than other Super Bowls. I get it. I mean, I'm kind of rooting for that too. I'm not necessarily rooting for Eagles Chiefs. I just think that's what's going to happen. Would I be happy to come on this show Monday and talk about the Super Bowl matchup and it's Commanders versus Bills? Absolutely. I think that would be fun as hell. I just don't think it's going to happen. Why? Because I think Patrick Mahomes is the best player on the planet. Joe Burrow did a few weeks ago. Not that play. Not that play. Not as he's falling to the ground. I mean, his face was almost pointed downward when he made that play. Doesn't matter. My point of the whole reason why Chiefs will be too cocky and lose. I hate to break this to you, Charles, but all 4 teams remaining, about 51 of the 52 players on the 4 teams that are remaining are cocky. I hate to break that to you. They are. You don't think Josh Allen is cocky? Are you kidding me? Just saying. I get your biases. I get you don't want to see the same thing. I get you don't like reruns. But sometimes you watch a movie over again. How many times have you watched Major League, you old farts? You watch Major League because it's fun. It's a great movie. How many times, like me, I've probably watched Shawshank Redemption in my life. It's my favorite movie. Probably 20 times. Every time it comes on, I watch it again. Why? Because it's great. I don't care if I've seen it already. Patrick Mahomes, is he cocky? Absolutely. Like Nick says, he is cocky. But he the man, though. Who that daddy says he thinks the baseball background that helps Mahomes and the confidence he has throwing them. I think it could be. I absolutely think it could be. Doesn't matter. Again, I get it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I get why you don't want the Chiefs, but don't let your bias affect what you think. It's hard when you're making predictions for games. It's going to be, what did I say last week? We sat here and we talked about Bills and Ravens. And all I heard, and not just from Uncle Big Nick, from a lot of people, a lot of you guys out there, back in the Ravens. It's different this time. They got Derrick Henry. Guess what? It wasn't different. It's not different. Until you prove to me it's different, it ain't different. It just ain't. Sorry. I might be proven wrong. I mean, do I necessarily, again, last thing I say on this before we wrap it up with the Saints. Am I rooting for the Chiefs? I got to be honest. I don't think I'm rooting for either team. I just want to watch a fun game. It's kind of like Bills Ravens. I wasn't rooting for either team. I wanted a great game. I got a great game. But you go back and you look, the playoffs against the spread in the Mahomes era, okay? This is why you don't bet against God. They have covered now 7 games in a row. The last time they didn't cover was against Jacksonville in 2022 in the divisional round. They were a 9-point favorite and won by 7. I'm just saying. When a favorite of 3 or less or a dog, Mahomes is 8-2 against the spread. His only losses were straight up, both as a 3-point favorite. Lost to Tampa Bay, got walloped in Super Bowl 55. And he lost to New England 37-31 in the 2019 AFC Championship game. Just saying. Put whatever way you want. Gabe saying it finished at 9 and it closed at 9.5. Not at the book not at every book. Depends on where you look. Doesn't matter. You just don't want to see the same thing. Maybe some people do. All right, we're going to talk about it plenty. We'll see what happens on Sunday. Look, I got to be honest. I hope I'm wrong. I'm probably not going to bet that much on the Eagles-Commanders game, even though that's my 5-point pick, because that's not what I want to happen. And I don't like to bet against what I want to happen. I want the Commanders to win. I want to be wrong. So I'm going to bet on the Eagles, but it ain't going to be a lot because I want to be wrong. Just saying. H-Town, you're right and wrong at the same time. Mahomes was slinging the pill in Lubbock. Sean Payton and Loomis got outsmarted by Andy Reid from Mahomes. They ended up with Ramczyk. They didn't get outsmarted. Outsmarted? They didn't get outsmarted. Andy Reid went up and got the man that they wanted. Sean Payton and the Saints couldn't find anyone to draft for them. That doesn't mean they got outsmarted. It just means they couldn't get anyone to trade with them. They tried to trade. They tried to move up to get him. They wanted. That's who Sean Payton wanted. He'd probably still be here if that's who they got. Derry says he may be the best player in today's game. In today's game, it's hard to say best ever. No, it's hard for you to say best ever. It's not hard for me to say best ever. I'm saying it. I think Patrick Mahomes does things that no one has ever done in this game. And I'm not just talking about the one that I mentioned that maybe Burrow had. I'm talking about just you go through a season, the way he moves around, the way he gets rid of the ball. He does things that no one has ever done, and I don't know ever will do. So it may be hard for you to say best ever. It ain't hard for me at all. It's easy for me to say it. Easy. All right, let's finish the show today with Saints. And again, the reason why, if you missed part of the show earlier, or you wonder why we had a title slide that looked like this, is the one Moore candidate meeting Kellen Moore. But yet we didn't spend a ton of time talking about Kellen Moore, is because we talk a lot about odds on this show. I go by odds because the odds are right more than they're wrong. There's a reason why bookies make money. There's a reason why Las Vegas makes money. Because they're right more than they're wrong. And the odds last night, before I went to bed, when we made all these slides, and I could have changed them. I guess I had time this morning to change them, but I kind of left them to prove a point as well. But last night when I went to bed, Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore were tied at plus 200. And again, if you're new to betting and you don't understand what betting means, or you don't want to bet, or you don't care about betting, what those numbers means are when you got a plus 200, it's based off of $100 bets, okay? So like Joe Brady right now, you could bet $100. If Joe Brady is named coach of the Saints, you would win $300 or $10 to win 30. Last night, Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore were both plus 200, which meant that if you would bet last night, you bet $100 on Kellen Moore or $100 on Mike McCarthy to be the next Saints coach, and one of them was, and you got it right, you would win $200. That changed twice this morning. When I woke up this morning, Mike McCarthy was up to plus 175. Moore had dropped to plus 300. And then I had to change this slide again right before we went on the air. In fact, we'll do a live look and we'll see if it's changed again. while I'm on the air live. It is not changed. It is the same odds that are on here. Mike McCarthy down minus 200, which means you'd have to put down a $200 bet to win 100, which means he's got a 2/3 chance in the odds makers' minds to be the next coach of the New Orleans Saints. You go down the line. Brady is now plus 300. Kellen Moore now plus 500. And I didn't even put him on this list, but Anthony Weaver is plus 500. Darren Rizzi, I've talked about Darren Rizzi, and we can talk more about Darren Rizzi, but Rizzi's now plus 500. Mike Kafka and Cliff Kingsbury are the only other two people on the list, and they're both plus 600 to be the next coach of the Saints. Ask Callie, what's the website again for the betting odds? It's betonline.ag. That's what I've been using. You can't find a you can't find a non-offshore site that does it. So, I mean, look, I've been advocating for Mike McCarthy ever since I was on the fence with Aaron Glenn. I like Aaron Glenn. I think he'll be a really good football coach. I'm not sure that's what the Saints. I wanted an offensive-minded coach. I don't love their whole retread thing. I get it. So when Mike McCarthy became available, he was the one that I've been advocating for. Does it matter what I think in the grand scheme of things? No, maybe only to you. And then even to you, it doesn't even make that much of a difference. My wife could care less who I think should be the next coach of the New Orleans Saints. Barry, your opinion? Of course it's your opinion. I'm not disrespecting your opinion. Just like my opinion on Mike McCarthy. We want opinions here. That's why we show them. Don't take it the wrong way when I disagree with you. I'm just telling you why I disagree. All about disagreeing. I'm not trying to shine you away. I don't think it's going to happen. And as we go, final comments, if you want to get your comment in, now's the time because we're going off the air in the next 3 minutes or so. But I'll tell you that I think that this is going to be done. Again, it's not just the odds. I've been telling you the people that I know, the people that I talk to, the people that I respect, the people that have been on this show, the people that I trust, whether it be on the air, off the air, whatever. Since he's become available, we know the Saints probably wanted Aaron Glenn and they didn't get Aaron Glenn. Choice number 2 or 1B, or however you want to look at it, has been Mike McCarthy. I think it's still Mike McCarthy. I always thought it was Mike McCarthy as soon as I saw him available, I said, there you go. There's your next Saints head coach. I will be surprised if I come on here Monday or next Wednesday or next Friday or whenever it is, and we have a show about the next Saints coach, and it's not Mike McCarthy. I will be surprised. Apathy says he's so glad Aaron Glenn went to the Jets. He has more talent in the Detroit defense of the Saints. Best ranking he had when he was 19th in 2023. Look, you know me, I'm not an excuses guy. I talk about it all the time. I don't make you either won or you lost. Okay. I'm not a fan of excuses. However, that being said, when you lose that many defensive players, starters, I think they were missing 5. Was it 5 starters they were missing last week, Gabe? I know they were missing almost the entire secondary. They went without, they went without Hutchinson all year long. 6. They went without Hutchinson all year long. So who could be the best pass rusher in the NFL? One of them up there with the Watts. I don't know. I do think Aaron Glenn is going to be a good head coach. I just didn't know if it was the right fit here. I get what you're saying, Apathy. I just think that McCarthy is a better hire for here for multiple reasons, not just because he's an offensive-minded coach. I've told you the number one thing the Saints are going to need in a coach going forward is someone. Y'all don't like Mickey Loomis. I'm trying to give you an out. They need somebody who can be like Sean Payton in the fact of have a giant say, if not the say, in personnel. Mike McCarthy is that person. Could Aaron Glenn have been that person? Probably. He could have been, but he doesn't have any experience doing that as a coordinator. His opinions were, what do you think, Aaron? Not, what do you want, Mike McCarthy? So that's where I think the difference is. H. Stannis, what do you think about Sean Payton? You hating on Sean Payton? I don't even know. What are you a Texans fan? I'm not sure what you are. But I'm glad to take your thoughts. McCarthy's been in Dallas with a Super Bowl roster. I haven't won anything. Saints need to rebuild, and McCarthy has never done that. He started over. He had to start over when he went to Green Bay. I know they had Brett Favre and they would transition into Aaron Rodgers, but maybe Aaron Rodgers gives Mike McCarthy a lot of credit. I don't know. I don't think the Saints need to fully start over. Do they need to dig deep and dig a trench and get rid of most of what's in the trenches? Absolutely. I think they got a great starting point in the defensive backfield. I think their wide receiving core, if they can find a way to keep them healthy, they're at a great spot there. Of course, they need somebody else. But I think their 1 and 2 are pretty damn good. I think their special teams are good. McCarthy comes in here. Maybe Rizzi stays on a special teams coach. I don't know. Maybe. But how many coaches in the NFL, I don't care what roster you have, because just like I don't make excuses, just because you had XYZ player, but maybe XYZ player is that good because of the coach. But how many coaches win 12 games 3 years in a row? How many coaches do that? How many coaches win 12 games 3 in a row? Mike McCarthy did that in Dallas. When he went to Dallas, they were a mess. He's leaving Dallas in a mess because Jerry Jones has refused to address where they need players most. That's in their offensive backfield. Dak Prescott can't do it by himself. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb can't do it by themselves. S. Cali, take 12 wins any day. I'm with you. Lance Dobard, 12 wins for 3 years straight. Give me that. I mean, Sean Payton won 13 games and didn't win a Super Bowl. Is the end goal winning a Super Bowl? Of course it is. But I can tell you this. I've said it before, and I'm going to close the show with this. Of course, the Super Bowl is always the end goal, or should be the end goal. But winning a division, going to the playoffs, and winning 10 games or 11 games and being relevant sure beats what the hell I've been watching for the last few years. Even 2 years ago, when it came down to the last week, and then dumbass Dennis Allen shook Arthur Smith's hand, they weren't realistically competitive. They had an easy, horrendous schedule, would have got destroyed in the playoffs. That's not what I'm talking about. I think Mike McCarthy can make this team relevant again, and I think it could be sooner rather than later. I want to see what a guy like Mike McCarthy can do when he says, here's the steering wheel, you drive the ship, because that's what it would be in New Orleans. I think there's no question of the candidates that are remaining. There's no question that he's the best one left. I get why some of you like Joe Brady, and it's why we talked about Kellen Moore, who probably has a better resume. They're going to probably be good coaches one day. I think one day Joe Brady will make for a really good coach. I think one day Kellen Moore will make for a really good coach. I get why the players want Darren Rizzi. That can't happen. But if you're a Saints fan, and I assume that 90% of the people watching this show are, if you're a Saints fan, you got to want Mike McCarthy now. Or at least if you don't want Mike McCarthy, if they hire him, you'll be like, okay, I can take that. It could have been a whole lot worse. They need someone to come in here and be the adult in the room. And the Saints haven't had an adult in the room since Sean Payton left the building. Maybe they'll have one now. Maybe we'll be talking about it next week. We'll find out. It's going to be an interesting week next week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. And then the following week, we're going to be on Radio Row. I don't know the logistics. I don't know whether it's going to be a 5-day-a-week show. Not sure. I don't know when the Saints are going to hire a coach. It's going to be a crazy upcoming 2 weeks. It really is. I think we've had some new people. Who Dat Daddy? I know you're new. I hope you keep coming back. And even though H-Town Creole, we didn't necessarily agree, I hope you keep coming back. I hope y'all all become a part of the Dattitude family, because we like to have varying opinions on this show, and we like to have fun. And sometimes I get riled up, and sometimes I just want to hear what you have to say. A lot of times I get riled up. But that's why they call it Dattitude, right? That's why we call it Dattitude. So come on back next week. Well, it is going to wrap it up for this Friday. I want to thank today's guests, of course, Larry Holder, Gabe Henderson, Uncle Big Nick. We hope you can join us next Monday when we'll welcome in, well, you. Just because the games are over for the Saints doesn't mean we stop having Mono E Monday. Again, if you're new to the show, Mono E Monday means it's just me and it's just you. We will have Gabe in for a few minutes. He'll have some kind of thought. Who knows what'll come across? Maybe there'll be some huge controversy, and Gabe and I maybe we'll even agree on it. Who knows? We'll do that on Monday. A reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive the notifications when we go on the air live, which is generally Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. You can also find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. Who Dat Daddy? Who Dat family? Y'all take care. H-Town Creole, love the show. Just subscribe and thank you so much, my friend. Gary, everybody have a great weekend. No question about it. S. Callie, good stuff. We'll see you Monday. Check me out, bet.nola.com. Check out our Saints Insiders at nola.com/Saints. Have a great and warm. It is going to be warm this weekend. You might actually even be able to go out and without a sweatshirt on, except UBN's probably still be layered up when it's 65 degrees. UBN says go Bills. I say let's just have a fun weekend. Make it a glorious one. We will see you on Monday. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.